Thank you for taking the time, guys, and thank you to the nominating committee for putting all the effort. We'll cover this in details. So let's see. Here is the agenda for today. There is a section at the beginning with the general information about the section, membership trends, the financials, which is a standard section every call. Then we have the subcommittee updates. For this one, we have an update for DWIS from Eric and Drillbotics. And we're going to close with going through the list of events that are coming up in Q1. I think we're going to need maybe an hour for this, even though the original invite was for an hour and a half. Let's see how it goes. So these are the numbers as at the end of November for the membership. So the actual number for the professional members right here is missing the actual number, but it's 2334 is the same where it was at the end of December for last year. So we have another month to go basically to see if this dot will go slightly up. Usually in December we get maybe a very small increase, something like 30 members, 40, something like that. So this is good. I expect it to be around 2380 or so, which is practically flat for the year. It's or maybe 1%, 2% higher, something like that. On the students population, is a little bit higher. It's already at 619, as you can see here, where last year we closed at the end of December at 585. So this is almost 7-8% increase, which is a very good number. It's a healthy indication. It's good. This is the conversion of students to professional members. We got 66 at the end of November, so maybe we reach something like 70, 75 or so by the end of the year. It's great to see young people coming into the section. The other two, the graph here doesn't change really from month to month. We know the distribution where the service companies are dominating, so to speak. The bottom graph, the two graphs, the bottom middle and right, is a breakdown of basically on a monthly basis of these totals that we had up here. So that's the 2334 that I mentioned. This number here is that dot up there. So we have another bar missing here. For the students, you can see that we are already higher than so that's a good picture. It's a good picture. It's a healthy sign, consistent with the rest of SPE, and I imagine the other technical sections. So anything we can do to bring in new people, new students, and new professionals is great. All right. So the next chart on the membership is here. This also doesn't change much from month to month. The United States has by far the largest population for the section. But then look at the next 3-4 countries, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, India, Canada. So non-traditional, let's say, with the exception of Canada, countries that are outside North America and new populations, new opportunities, I would say, for adding members, students and professionals. And right, the last year or so, we have representatives, chairs for all these areas. And we need to take advantage of that and try to add new members. And an encouraging sign is that for the Drillbotics competition, some of the universities are from Africa and South America. And that is a very good sign. We need to somehow build on this, That's really all I had on the membership numbers. We don't have any other comments. I hope we can maintain that momentum going forward for next year and the next incoming team, as we will discuss later. So the next section is financial update. for the section. Robert sent these slides. He couldn't join us today. He had some conflict. Here is where we stand. Going from right to left here. This is the current numbers. So we had about a 10K increase since the last meeting in October. We went total in the 4 accounts that we have from 77K to 87K. And that is 3 main contributors, really 3 components there. One is the proceeds from the ATC last October that came in. And then there were a few sponsorships. A couple of them were for the Kia, Corva and Drill Dogs. Thank you, Calvin. And another one from Baker. Thank you, John, for this one. That's a 10K that you see here. This is what brought us from this point up to this point. This is a good development. You can tell here we were flat essentially for the 6 months before that. Now, having said that, we have already made a commitment to support Drillbotics going forward. DSATS, that is, to support Drillbotics, since we didn't get many sponsorships from the industry for this year's cycle. We have a poll open on the website asking formal approval from the board and officers and the subcommittee chairs to fund, the expenses of the upcoming cycle. This means travel of the students to Stavanger for the drilling conference, and all the cost for the events coming up. So far, the actual commitments so far are about 10K, but it will go higher. And the request and the poll is for approval up to 25K, which is typically what we spend in a year. I don't think we're going to spend 25, maybe 20, 22, something like this. But we are fine. Now, we will cover more details when we go through the Drillbotics. For the 25-26 cycle, we got approval from SPE. Not approval, SPE approved 25K towards Drillbotics with the help of Robin McMillan, as you remember. So that will help, but this is not money that we can spend immediately for travel expenses, for example. That part we cover through DSATS. You can see the comments here. I don't know if there are any questions. The 2 asterisks here mean that the money have not been transferred to our account yet, but it's a detail. I think it's a matter of time.
Yeah, Dimitris, I got a couple of things. One is, I think when the money gets spent on Drillbotics, I think it would be good to put that on the website or somewhere so that sponsors know that money that's been raised through our sponsorship has then gone into a good cause. We've been a good chaperone of the funds. So I think that's a positive thing to advertise. The second thing is DWIS. Does it actually need a separate account? They started out with a sponsorship page and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that they need they did raise money, but I don't know that they need a separate account now. If they plan to raise money, but if they're not planning to raise money and really have any expenditures, I would suggest to consider closing it and get away from this fee. And then if they did need some funds, they should make an application to you and the board for the general account.
Yeah, I understand. For the first point, absolutely, we'll have to advertise how we are spending the money and helping student etc. It's a great idea. For DWIS, when it started a couple of years ago, there was a workshop I don't remember exactly when was it, after the ATC, if I'm not mistaken. And there were tickets and there was sponsorships coming in. Daryl having made that main sponsorship, if I remember correctly. And the idea for creating that account was that DWIS, if you remember, we'll have a foot, let's say, on the SPE side and a foot outside SPE. So it's not entirely a DSATS entity. Is more like the ISCWSA, if you want, where we have, it's an industry, let's say, body, but it has a leg in SPE in order to get the open culture, open participation that SPE has, plus, benefit from the tax exemption that SPE has. So that's why a separate account was opened, not to depend, so to speak, all the time on the DSATS funding it. Now, going forward, does that still make sense? Are these assumptions still valid? I think they are. Why I'm saying that? Because the workshop that is coming up after the drilling conference in March, we're going to try to get sponsorships for that, and we're going to have tickets for that event as well. So I think it's a positive sign if we can make DWE self-sustained, so to speak, where the industry community, companies and individuals are interested in the work going on there and are willing to participate and pay a little bit. That gives it a life on its own, without dependence on this. Plus, thinking bigger now, going forward. Until now, the big bulk of the work that has been done, by Eric and Benoit, it's been sponsored, if you want, by Norse. The rest of us, almost all of us, were doing whatever we do on a voluntary basis. Now, I hope that we're going to reach a point where the WIS will be able to sponsor some of this work, raise funds, and help, fund whether it is a commercial field trial or, the demos that we are doing. Right now, we're pretty much relying on Norse and to do this for us and for the industry. But this is not viable, I think we need to take a more active role in paying for those costs and for these developments. Have more skin in the game, not just get the benefits, of the work that Eric and Norse are doing. So from that point of view, I think it's a good idea to keep that account, even though there is a little fee that we suffer now. That's in the noise, given the bigger picture. That's my thoughts here. I don't know, any comments, anybody else want to share on this?
Yeah, Matt's got his hand up.
Yeah, Matt, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, so we're planning on doing a roadmap exercise in March to look at kind of where DWIS sees its immediate future going. I think it would also be timely to do a similar road mapping exercise with DSATS in 2025. There is a lot of history here, that there are reasons that it's set up the way that it's set up. But I think, we need to think about the greater, drilling systems approach and how these things could be folded together. In my opinion, it's rather inefficient, right, to have multiple advisory boards and things like that. So, I would hope that we can figure out what the future looks like, how to balance SPE with other industry efforts. To me, that's a conversation that we need to have probably multiple times in 2025. But, in the meantime, I don't really see that the account matters that much.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? Anyone? It's good to capture this.
I guess maybe one comment, it might come up in the DWIS update, right?
Yeah.
I like the way the wellbore positioning technical section is set up, where they have a means they have the ICSW, and I'll screw up the acronym here, but
ISCWSA.
ISCWSA.
Okay.
And they use that as a mechanism to drive guidelines, work with API, and drive standards, right? Definitely, Matt, as part of that road mapping, maybe this is already things that the team is talking about, is how do we drive towards that type of a guideline / standard type mechanism, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Shashi. Calvin?
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite related, but I was looking at the sponsorship and Matt's comment about the roadmap. In our inability to get more operator interest, it'd be nice to have a goal to get X dollars or X number of operators putting some money in. And I think it'd be a real KPI. If we can't get money from operators, that I think describes a lot of the issues that we've got. Because if we get money, then we can get their time. But it's easier to get money than it is time for these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Fred? You are muted, by the way.
Yeah, I put 2 comments in the chat. One is that we have a possible commitment to David Gibson for $6,500 to finish the documentary that he started but hasn't finished. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then also, I really would like to send the team lead from the team from Ghana. He's a co-author of the paper, and they don't have enough money to send him to Norway this March. That's another $2,500.
For the robotics expenses, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the 6.5K for David Gibson, that's also coming out of the robotics account. We have already received that money essentially from
Yes.
David. Okay.
Yes. So the idea was that we wouldn't put any money in; he'd have to raise it.
Yeah.
But we would use the robotics mechanism and tax exemption to help raise the fund. So he raised $13,000.
Okay.
And we paid 50% earlier.
That's fine.
We still owe 50 if he finishes the product.
I mean, if that money came in from David, it will go out to David as agreed, for the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The approval that we're getting from the poll is for running the competition and covering the expenses of the students. Now, dollars are dollars. If we use $1,000 from what David gave us, we're going to give it back, let's say. But essentially, we're paying for the student expenses. We're not paying for the documentary.
Right.
If you see what, okay. So right. Yeah, I think that's clean.
The one student to travel would be a ticket, and he could probably stay with the German team for no extra cost for housing.
Okay. Okay. Very good. I thought I saw John McPherson. He had his hand up for a second, or no? No. Okay.
Not me.
Okay. Sorry. So yeah. So that's where we are with the finances. I think the point that Calvin made is very important. Try to engage operators, and let's see how we can improve that situation. Okay, let's move on. Let me go
I'll
back
just add one thing, Demetrios, and it'll come up a little later, but we are actively chasing quite a lot of sponsors for the symposium.
Okay.
And thanks to Calvin and John McPherson, they've already contributed, and then we got Corva to contribute. Ryan Dawson responded to me right away saying, absolutely. So he instructed his people and they paid. But there's a lot of requests out there, and our expectation is we will get more sponsorship. So we're going to be putting money in the kitty.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Okay, so now the next 2-3 slides come from the nominating committee. Just a refresh reminder here. So Shashi stepped up as a board member to lead this 3-member committee. The other 2 are active members, and for this year it was John DeWard and Maury Laing, and the 3 of them, they went away and started looking to see whose term expires, what people are out there in the industry that we can bring in, and they have done some excellent work. And I'd like to pass it on to Shashi here to kind of take us through the next couple of slides.
Thanks, Demetrios. Yep. So I want to start off by saying Moray and John were pretty instrumental in helping guide me through this process, right? And it was frankly a team effort in trying to identify who would be the right people for the right positions. How do we bring in new talent into the organization? So before I go into the results, wanted to talk a little bit about the structural changes. We looked at the overall board, officers and chairs positions, and we kind of decided to combine a few roles and remove a few roles. So the program chair role was one of the roles that the person in that role whose term was going to end. So we made the decision, or we are proposing that role be combined with the program chair for North America. And that way, this person who's in this role is then driving synergies, operations across all the different regions. Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, you think that this would permanently be the program chair from North America who is the program chair, or would it just be one of the regional guys would also be the program chair?
That's actually a very good point. Yeah, might be a good thing to rotate among the different regions. That's a good point, Fred.
Well, you may take the person that's the most energetic as the program chair, but I wouldn't always assume that that's the person from North America.
Yeah, good point. I like that. Then we decided we want to combine the administrative chair and the online community webmaster. There's a lot of synergy between the two roles. Both talk about how do we, obviously one is capturing the minutes, running the meetings and such, but the other one is a way to publicize, to communicate to the rest of the industry on what we are doing in DSATS, right? So the proposal is to combine those two. We had two deputy chair roles and co-chair roles. The term for those people ended. So the recommendation was, let's remove those, and whoever is the new person that's coming in as chairs, they make the decision on how to structure their individual subcommittees, right? We don't want to force a structure on them. They give them some independence, authority to define their own subcommittees.
That's a comment here, Sasi. So part of the reason why we had deputy chairs was a transition from a new person coming in, kind of being trained from a incumbent, and now that they are up to speed, they can take over, and there is no reason to have two roles, for the same subcommittee.
That's a good point. Yeah, John, you have your hand up.
Just quickly on that, those deputy chair roles don't actually exist in the constitution and bylaws. So they were created, but they don't exist. And I think just a clarification, what we intend is that the administrative chair and online community webmaster remain as two roles. So we don't change the bylaws, but one person is occupying both roles. I think that's, there's no need for any voting or anything. It's just a selection of one person who's very capable and a go-getter to handle both roles.
Okay, next slide. So it's a busy table. I'll kind of walk everyone through it. So I'll start with the board members. We have two board members that are stepping down, Austin Grover up at the top, and then Mark Anderson. So as the nomination committee, we had to find replacements or backfills for those positions. For the positions where their term is ending, Calvin Holt, program chair, ending March next year. We want to nominate Murray to kind of be the lead program chair, while he's also serving as the North American program chair, and nominate Calvin to the board, so that he'll be filling one of the two open positions in the board. Dimitrios, your term is ending. We want to nominate Blakely Farrow from Neighbors to be the section chair, and nominate Dimitrios to the board. Riam Johnson would be covering the community webmaster role as well as the administrative chair role. So Edgar and Sam their terms are ending, so Riam would be coming in for them. And then I'll go down. We talked about the deputy chair and the co-chair roles being removed. Membership chair, we reached out to Nazikul. In fact, John did. He's moved on to another role in his regular work, and he's joined another technical section, right? Focus more on geothermal. So we identified Cody McDonald as replacing him in the membership chair. Other changes, Paul, instead of a co-chair, make Paul the open source subcommittee chair. Robert Darby is coming off, and he's been mentoring and coaching Sam. And so the proposal is to nominate Sam to be the treasurer. I've talked to Robert. Robert will be available to support. I mean, treasurer is a key role, handles the financials for all of our technical sections. So Robert is available for 3 months. He was open to hang around for 6 months if needed to make sure that Sam is set up to be successful in his role. University Relations Chair, Dan Swee from University of Stavanger. The name came to my mind primarily from her team and her participation in the Drillbotics competition, right? So wanted to see if we could engage her in the DSATS technical section itself, and she was happy to volunteer for that. So Dan Swee would be the chair for the University Relations. Talked about Sam. I'm coming off the Drillbotics subcommittee chair. Talked to Enrique. So he'll be stepping up to be the chair for the Drillbotics committee. I know went through it quick. Questions, suggestions, comments?
I was just going to throw in there that we have casually and not formally had conversations, including with Matt, on dropping automation from the section's name and just making it drilling systems. But we haven't pushed that forwards, but we have casually discussed it.
And certainly, I don't know that it restricts us in any way, but it might be making it a little bit more inclusive if you drop automation. I'm okay leaving it in there. It's DSATS, as far as I'm concerned, has a pretty good reputation in the industry and the SPE and all. So I would hate for somebody to go, where did DSATS go? And watch it.
Yeah, you want to protect the brand too, right?
There is another section that has an acronym DSATS, DSATS. And can you imagine the confusion if we have sections DSTS, several sections having the DSTS in the letters.
It's probably a bad acronym, DSATS, huh?
Oh, yeah. Man. I guess that's something, I mean, if you're planning to do the roadmap session next year, maybe that's for consideration for that session, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get wrapped up in the name, right? The intent is to attract a lot of the hard technologies to this section, right? Right now, like a motor provider says, well, I don't have anything to do with automation, right? So they're cruising on to some other technical section that is more in line with their interest. So really what we're proposing is that we're broadening the focus of this technical section to be drilling systems, right? Because I think we have all embraced drilling systems, and system engineering is really the key to this, and not the automation procedures, right? It's just one way of assisting the drilling system.
Interesting, yeah.
Well, I like the broadening aspect. You're spot on that. I wonder if more than the name change, would it be better to go back and rewrite the charter statements and some of those things, and then rebrand ourselves throughout the industry or throughout SPE? I mean, we've got a pretty good reach, people that we can send out notices and say, hey, the new DSATS includes all other systems, drilling systems as well, not just automation. So I don't know. But
I think Paul, it would be necessary to go through that process and update the scope and purpose, etc. I think people are right about DSATs, but we could just change the A word from automation to analytics or some other word and still call it DSATs. So we could retain the branding and just update the purpose and the scope.
there you go. I bet you there's a lot of A words. I think that's not bad.
Okay.
Okay, next slide.
Sorry, can I make one other comment? I
Yes.
am absolutely comfortable in continuing as the open source chair, but if we have Roman Shore stepping down, he might really enjoy that role as well, and I would have no problem in him taking that on. He's got the group at A&M that's really supporting that effort. So if you guys are good with that, I would certainly say to approach him on that.
Sorry, Paul, did you mean Roman Shore or who?
Yeah, Roman Shore.
Roman Shore. Okay. Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
He is very active, and again, I'm in a semi-retirement role, which is not bad. I'm not totally retired yet, but
You got to do some work, Paul.
Yeah, I'm averaging 7 days a week, but I don't know if that's exactly retirement.
Transition. Energy transition.
Anyway, I think he would be very good for that, given his position and what he's doing.
For what it's worth, I second that. He's very active and very capable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, I mean, I'm open to it. John, you good?
Sorry? Oh, are you talking to me or the other John?
Sorry, he was.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. I think we have to look at what role he's had already and how long he's been in position. So to see how it fits with the rules, but we could do that.
Yeah.
He's quite dynamic. He's quite good.
All right.
Okay, next slide. This basically summarizes, I highlighted in green, the changes and the new people coming on board, right? So we have 2 new board members, and then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 changes to our officers and chiefs.
I think something to note with Blakely, yes, she's new, she's very active, she speaks up, and in fact, Suboda Saxena is her boss. He's the VP over at Neighbors, and he endorses her taking this role. So he's putting his name behind her functioning in this role, which I think makes it a significant positive move.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
It's excellent to have someone from a contractor side also.
Yeah.
Get involved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We've been so underrepresented for those guys.
Yeah.
So I guess next.
Go ahead, Sasi, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say next steps. Demetrios, I guess you would sometime in January, if everybody on this call is in agreement, sometime in January, we would then send this out to the broader DSATS membership, right?
I think the only open question is Roman.
Yeah.
If we get him to agree and accept that role, then we're ready to publicize this. You know, Greg and I will send an email out to the members. We have a 45-day timeline before our meeting, which is March 3. So that would put us roughly on around January 15 to send out that email and open, basically, or invite people to self-nominate, get seconded, etc. You know how the process goes. So we don't have to do it right now. We have maybe a month to sort this out during this time. But I mean, it's we're ahead of time, ahead of schedule, you know, compared to last year, let's say. So that's excellent. I'm very happy to see new names. So it's not always the same people that we're kind of going around and just changing roles to bring in new energy and new ideas to the table. And it's a good transition, I think. And all of us were available to help the new people coming in, with materials and schedules and processes and all the stuff,
Yep.
Hey, Calvin, we can hear you typing.
All right.
Okay.
Let's move on. So the next section is the updates from the subcommittees. And we have Eric here on the call. He was very kind to provide a couple of slides of. We're going to cover the demo, the upcoming demo that is in Q1, the workshop that we have scheduled for the day after the drilling conference on March 7. And if Matt wants to make any comments about the advisory board, the webinar that is coming up, etc. So let's start with the demo. I kept this slide from the last call. I think it's going to be helpful for Eric to kind of walk us through where we stand and what the work is going on, what work is going on, where, etc. So, Eric, off to you.
Yes, thank you. So the background for all this is interoperability, to make sure that when we develop advisory systems, they can connect to any kind of ADCS, and vice versa, that the ADCS can get information from any advisory system. And for this, we developed an infrastructure, a framework, which is represented by those green boxes that you have in the middle. And the vision that we have is that if someone write an interface to Davis, it just needs to write it once, and then it can be used or deployed everywhere. So the infrastructure or the framework is based on exchange information with one single piece of software, which is a Blackboard. The Blackboard is containing real-time signals and based on OPC UA, so with a good refresh rate. Otherwise, all the information is also accompanied with semantic, so that it can be interpreted by computer programs. And then around the Blackboard, so we have different additional components which helps the interoperability, like the training process state interpreter, the scheduler, advice composer, the contextual data builder, and the logger. And then we have ADCS interfaces to the different ADCS which exist at the rig site, and also ADCS capability descriptions. So we are preparing a demonstration for end of January, beginning of February. We have actually 2 or 3 demonstrations that we want to run with multiple ADCS vendors, and where we have many different advisory systems coming from different companies. So we have among those companies participating to the demonstration, Baker Hughes, Halliburton, Secal, Aker BP, Petrobras. On the advisory side, I hope I have not forgotten anybody. And then on the ADCS side, so we have NOV, HMH, Between, and then for the simulator part, so we have A-Drilling and North. So it's relatively interesting demonstration because we mix a lot of different companies, and we hope that we can demonstrate that these different applications can work together in a mixed company setup, and that they can be running with different configurations for the demonstration. So far, the Blackboard has been ready for some time. The training process state interpreter has been developed and is made available as open source on GitHub. The scheduler is being rewritten and is close to be ready. The advice composer is also being working on at the moment. And then the major task is writing ADCS interface for the different commercial applications between Novos and Deal. So there are still plenty of work before we are ready for demonstration, but we are progressing. So we can go to the next slide.
If I may, Eric, here.
Yeah.
So each one of those blue columns here, think of them as, the Novos on top of cyberspace, on top of NOV equipment, let's say, pumps, etc. On the next column, you have the equivalent from the HMH side, the deal system, and then the rig control system, and now below, either actual hardware or the simulators, So to put each one of those vertically integrated, let's say, blue columns in place for the demo, it's a lot of work, as you can imagine, and Eric is spending a lot of time making sure all the components are compatible and working together, etc. So they are not all at the same state of maturity. What Norse has, it has already, let's say, a Novos layer with a hardware in the loop underneath that can drive a simulator and get data from a simulator, but it's a whole duplicate of that needs to happen with HMH, and that was not exactly at the same state. There was a rig control system in place, but not the counterpart ADCS, let's say, on top of it, and all that work needs to happen either at Norse or at HMH's facility to have the complete system for the demo. So you can imagine the issues that come up with compatibility, with version control, with all that stuff. And Eric, with the persistence and patience that Eric has demonstrated, he's going through that, and I highly appreciate this effort to put this. I mean, the industry is going to benefit a lot by this work. I have no doubt about that, because it brings, if nothing else, it brings to the forefront the issues that we're facing, all these challenges. And this is what we're trying to improve by the DWIS initiative. On the positive side, once this work is in place, from this point on, from this point on here, from where, if you can see the mouse, from this point on upwards, is transparent. At this point, the command that comes down here, it doesn't change regardless of what blue column we're talking to. And that's really what we're after, that this entire world up here, the gray and the green pieces, they do their thing without having to worry what is on the other side. That's where the efficiency is. That's where the benefits are. So, but to get to that point, we have to, at least for the demo purposes, to do all the dirty work that needs to happen here on this side, that all the pieces are in place. So you drive all the simulators or PLCs, etc., get the data that we need, feed it out, process it, and show the concept. So, sorry for kind of taking these few extra minutes, Eric. I thought it's important for the entire board here to understand the challenges of putting all these pieces, the blue pieces, together for the demo. Anyway, so let's go to the next.
And thank you for this input or for the supplementary information, Dimitrios. I will also add that actually the green box ADCS interfaces, in a way, is kind of this is what is seen from the gray boxes, the data acquisition, so the advisory systems and all those other applications which are there. They only communicate with the ADCS interfaces, which is a kind of generic one. It doesn't need to go to know exactly what is the ADCS which is behind the scene, but still it needs to adapt to the true ADCS capabilities, and that's why the ADCS capabilities are published on the Blackboard. So most of the work we are doing is to try to define ADCS interfaces which are large supersets of the ADCS that we know about, so that actually we cover all possible ADCSs without divulgating how the true ADCS is working, which is also an important aspect also, to hide in a way the true ADCS from the rest of the world. And this is done by making this superset. Another alternative would have been to take the minimum common denominator, I think it's called in English, to take the intersection between all the capabilities which exist between the ADCS. But then the number of functionalities that would have been available for Davis would have been extremely small. So choosing the opposite, which is to take the superset, is also very challenging because we need to think much larger than what is available already now. So whether that will work still remain to be seen. But we have in good collaboration with, for example, Petrobras. We are almost daily communications with Petrobras because they will provide actually the information for the pump startup, and that's a useful process in a way to learn about that.
Shashi?
Right?
Yeah,
Shashi,
Eric, just for my clarification, the black box, basically that is, you're in some sense, that's kind of the primary interface for anybody to come in and plug into the system, right? They then don't have to worry about individual ADCS APIs or.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So that was something I wanted to have as a form for the design, is that actually how to connect to Davis should be only one entry point. That you don't need to know the whole infrastructure of Davis in a way. So if you know how to communicate with the Blackboard, then you can do whatever the Davis infrastructure can give you. At the same time, it needs to be very fast in terms of exchange of signals. So that's why we based it on OPC UA. And at the same time, we want to have a high level of interoperability, which is called classically level 4, which is semantic interoperability. And that means that all the information which is published on the Blackboard is also accompanied with semantic descriptions, which is something probably new for most of the people working in drilling, but which is something which is quite common in the rest of the software industry. So there is a learning curve, and we see that it's not simple, but hopefully it can be more. It will be easier with time when people get used to that way of thinking with this semantic description.
Fred?
Hey, Eric, do you see NOV or HMH building their own Blackboard in the future? Have they discussed it?
Well, yeah, I've discussed with the companies, and first of all the code that we develop is open source. So some of it is already made available openly, like for example the drilling process state interpreter. All the vocabulary of the Blackboard is made up open. The rest is still private to Davis until we have a stabilized version. But at the end, everything will be open source. And what I say to these companies is, and that's the same for the advisory system provider, if you want to make a product out of that, be my friend, okay? Just take it and do it. And the same when I develop these ADCS interfaces specifically for Novos, for Deal, for Between. What I say to them is, okay, I develop that and I give you the code. This will not be open source because this is company specific. But if you want to commercialize it, just go ahead and do that.
Would that open code?
That's your problem.
Would that open source code be available to Drillbotics teams in the future?
Yeah, it's available to everybody.
Okay.
But the specific ADCS interface to the specific vendor will not be open source.
Okay.
Because
Yeah. Right.
because then
course.
that will divulgate
Yeah.
information about their own ADCS, and I cannot do that.
Well, I was thinking about some of the comments that we've heard from Van Ort about robotics, and if the teams that want to build a rig build the blackboard, then the other teams are building all the gray boxes up there.
Yeah. That can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't need to build the blackboard because the code is already available. It's there. So it's
but they have to implement it in their system.
Sure. They can do that.
That's what I mean.
And anybody can do that because there is already available Docker images, which is freely available on the net.
Okay, thanks.
John?
Yeah, Fred pretty much asked my question, but my point was that the DWIS concept, as it moves to a drilling contractor or to service company or whatever, it morphs from this. They have the components shown there, so internally they're compliant with DWIS, but it doesn't exactly look exactly like this within each individual company.
Mm.
And it's an important thing to understand. And then when we started this, we wanted one box that we would plug into, remember, to talk to any rig. And here it's coming down to, we have a multitude of these ADCS interfaces. And as Eric said, it's a superset, which is mandated by the fact that ADCSs are not built the same. They have quite different concepts. But I'm kind of interested how far that ADCS capabilities goes. So we do, in fact, reach our goal, which was this one box we plug into.
Okay.
But just a comment. So just remember, this is a concept, right? And it morphs.
And there is a consequence of this notion of ADCS capabilities that if you are writing the code for the advisory system in the gray box, you need to read what is the actual capability description that is available on the rig, and make your code so that it can adapt actually to what is available. But in software engineering, this is not something new. This is exactly how it works. If you have a computer, if you write some code for graphical card, that's what you do. You write your code, you have a kind of generic capability of the graphical card, and then you read the capability of the graphical card and you adapt yourself, knowing that some functions will be directly on the chip, on the GPU, and some others will be made on software, depending on the price of your graphical card. And then you can adapt actually whether you would like to use some of those functions or other functions. So this is really the same principle. You have so many variations on possible ADCS capabilities. You have a generic interface, which is the ADCS interface that we build. And then you have the capability description. And if you write your code correctly, then you can really deploy everywhere, but you need to know what will be the limitation that you will get on the rig and think about it from start.
Yeah, understand. That's a high level of abstraction. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's a really good way to go. I quite like. We like this. Yeah. So.
Thank you, John.
You're already convinced from before, so. And also, I would say that some of the concepts that we have developed in Davis, you are free to use them in a way. If you want to use part of the vocabulary for your own application in any company, if you want to use part or completely the drilling process state interpreter, there is a piece of the drilling process state interpreter which is to calibrate values which are coming from multiple digital twins. This piece can be reused for other applications. Feel free, just use that. And this is new stuff which doesn't exist from before.
Yeah.
So there is a kind of ruissellement, we say in French. There is dropping things also out of Davis which are which can be useful for anybody else.
Side benefits maybe or byproducts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spin-offs. Yeah.
Sasi?
Yeah. Hey, one question, Eric. If you take NOV, for example, right? They require NOVOS certification, right? Every time you want to connect to their system. Does this mean your blackboard is in quote unquote certified? So for somebody in the gray box to connect, they don't have to worry about going through the certification?
This I've not discussed with NOV whether they will ask that the gray boxes needs to have some kind of certification, but the ADCS interfaces will need to have a certification from NOV.
And that will be
what
fantastic.
is on the other side of the DCS interface, I don't know what NOV will impose.
Yeah.
That I cannot answer. And I
That's
guess
a very big question, Sasi, because I mean, certification, to make sure that you respect the API right here is one thing, but how to validate the logic that is implemented in the gray pieces, that's a completely different question, and part of what Eric said, where you have semantic description, that will help with the verification and validation piece of those codes, because now all the data and all the code, it can be, it's automatically generated and is configurable, let's say, and it can be tested and verified. It's not a person that has to go in and match this channel with that other input over there, manually.
So it's a very good point, Dimitrios, about this notion of automatic generation of the ADCS interface, because basically the superset that I'm defining is based on the ADCS capability description, and there is a piece of code which is automatically generating the code which is communicating with the ADCS on the background. Now, so far I've not done the work on doing systematic verification and validation of the ADCS capability description, but there is a potential to do that. So basically, it's like you work at a very high level programming language, and you can use a compiler actually to check a lot of things. And that's the way we work, instead of working at the very low level, like programming directly in PLCs.
Yeah.
And that has a potential of speeding up, actually adding new functionalities in ADCSs in the future. So I have a paper that we'll present at the Brain conference in Stavanger about that. And I hope it can be opening actually much more flexibilities for how ADCSs can be built and maintained, because also maintaining ADCS is a big task, very heavy. If it's automatically generated, then you push the problem somewhere else.
Okay.
Hopefully at a level which is easier to manage.
I'm glad to see the interest here, but Fred, please go ahead, but let's have the last question for this slide.
A short question. Where does security reside?
Yes, that was a big question, a short question, but a big topic.
Okay, deal with it later if you want to. I just want to make sure it's somewhere on the screen.
Yeah, it is an important question, and I would
and
admit
it goes back to
moment.
to Shasi's question about the certification. That's kind of in the same ballpark. We can deal with it later.
Yeah, certification is done now by getting the drilling contract, the ADCS provider, the application provider, and with a simulator, and doing exactly what Eric is setting up in the demos, but with the individual companies. And the security is an integral part of the development of any of these pieces. Yeah, it has to be considered, and it is being considered in the commercial environment anyway.
Okay, very good. Let's move on then. So very close related to that, the workshop in the day after the drilling conference. So Eric, maybe Matt.
Yes. So we are working on preparing this workshop on the March 7, the Friday, just after the drilling conference. So the workshop is hosted by Aker BP. So we are so lucky that Aker BP accepted to host the workshop. We have a big room, so 140 seats, so we can have a lot of people joining. And Aker BP is also helping us with the lunch and coffee and all these breaks things. So the timing between 9 and 4 o'clock, starting registration at 8, and the agenda you can see on the slide. In the morning, it's mostly reporting about the different work streams work and the output that we have on the demos. And then after lunch, that will be a roadmap exercise for 2 hours to try to see how to go further after this milestone that hopefully we will have reached at that time. I say hopefully because I see roadblocks every single corner. So there is always something
Eric,
which is missing.
Yeah, Eric, a couple of things. One observation, and I don't think it's material to your timing, but just an FYI that the ISC-WSA have their next meeting on the 7th as well. So they're going to have their meeting in parallel. I don't know. Well, there may be 1 or 2 people who might be either or, but it's just to know about it.
Yeah.
The second thing is, will it be virtual? As of course, the morning stuff, we're not going to get up in the middle of the night, but the roadmap exercise, I'd be kind of interested if it's also virtual access for those of us who are not going to be in Stavanger.
I can check with RBP if we can arrange a kind of team meeting so that it can be hybrid.
At least record it, if not have it live. That would be
hybrid, and it's the afternoon. I mean, it's get up early and join it. So people in the US could join that, and that might be you might get 1 or 2 people who have some good input.
I would certainly like that too. I will not be in Norway, unfortunately, but yeah, I would enjoy if we had a remote login capability.
Okay.
Yeah,
4 p.m. plus 7, it ends at 11. That's past my normal bedtime because I'm an old guy, but I could stay up for this if it's kind of like New Year's Eve for me.
1 second, you are backward, Fred.
Backward, actually,
Norway,
so it's very early in the morning.
9 over here.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll just get up when I normally get up.
There you go.
You are like me.
Are you awake yet, Fred, or not?
Okay, very good. Matt, you want to add anything to this?
No, Eric covered it.
Okay, very good. All right. So then let's move on to Drillbotics.
Hang on. We need to talk about the webinar too.
I have it in the next. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So we're doing a webinar. I've posted the details in the chat. We've basically got 5 different contractors that are going to talk through some of their pain points. And then we have John McPherson, who's agreed to be the heavy for DWIZ to talk. We'll have a group discussion after they do their short presentations about their pain points, about how and whether the DWIZ systems that we've been talking about will impact the pain points that they've presented. So that's going to be on February the 13th at 9 a.m. And we have a lot of marketing to do, and we're trying to get all the details flanged up so that we can start sending some emails and things like that around. But in the meantime, the information's in the chat.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Matt. So let's go back to Drillbotics. So as I mentioned earlier, we got 25K approved for Drillbotics from SPE for the 25-26 cycle. Robin was instrumental to get that through the approval process. This is intended to help running the competition next year. It's not for the running expenses right now. As we said, DSATS will cover those. There is a poll on the website. So far, we have 16 yes votes, 0 no votes, but we need 21 to get it formally approved, for the 75% quorum. So if you haven't voted that, please take a minute to visit the spe-dsats.org website and cast your vote. I'll send a reminder out, but we're almost there. The next steps in that effort is to have SPE create marketing material that both for the universities as well as for potential sponsors, that inviting them basically to engage in a more substantial way in the program. And Fred has already started the work with the universities, how to guide them through this extended cycle coming. It's going to be a year and a half, let's say, the next cycle. And one more point that I haven't had here in the slide, but Robin reminded me. There is a possibility to bring expertise and interest and maybe sponsors and people from the geothermal technical section into the drill robotics. And Tony Pink is interested in that, and they're waiting. Basically, they're open to having an initial call to coordinate this and see how we can bring, that aspect into the robotics competition. And I think, personally, it's an excellent idea, and we need to take advantage of that, because if that becomes part of the future of the energy, then we want to be there and take advantage of this. There is a lot of momentum right now in that space, and we would leave money on the table, so to speak, if we didn't take on that opportunity. So I think that's it for the robotics. I don't know if there's any. Yeah, John, please.
Yeah, I have a comment on that. If you get Tony Pink, he has that open space stuff he's running now, and they're funded by the DOE. So they have like 163 million the DOE does that it's looking to put in. So if we can get some of that money, just the DOE to sponsor robotics through, which we tried before, but this might be another way to do it.
Yeah.
And he's not looking at hot rock drilling, so this is managed temperature drilling.
Yeah.
I think he'd call it. So it's definitely of interest to us.
Excellent.
I think it's a good deal. Yeah.
Any other comments? Anybody before we move on? We're almost done. A few more minutes. So let's see the updates. So there is a symposium on the 3rd. Eric, please, or Serafima, you can walk us through.
Yeah, I can walk through. So the symposium work is in progress, but this is, you can see here, this is the presenters that we invited. They all confirmed and I guess excited to join. So we're still waiting for the webpage to be posted on the conference website. They promised it by the end of this week because unfortunately, so far we have to go with the one-pagers and, they slides like this. But once that's but the registration is actually open, so it's already possible to join, even though there's no information about what's happening. So yeah, and I guess the main information about it is here. It's will be some presentation. Well, of course the usual update, but then the presentations with Q&A session to the people so that they can share their knowledge from different industries. And then the networking reception to discuss even more.
Excellent, very good.
And I think there was one more slide, maybe next one.
Yeah.
So here it's a little bit on the budget. We as you can see here, there's some costs for the catering that we need to cover. We will. I think last moment announced the live streaming, so which will contribute to cost of the event itself, and we still need to find the gatekeepers or how we work on that because earlier I think they were provided by SP, but not this time as of now. So I think John and and Karma were engaged in where to find the sponsors, and I think Dimitris, you have already. Thank you to Baker Hughes and Drill Docs and I think Kurva that already contributed. So that's great. I think we slowly start to cover our costs, but I guess we still need a bit more. So we're actively working to find, and here you could see the different sponsorship packages. I don't know if they're already also uploaded on the DSATS, like the page to collect the sponsorship is there, but I don't know if the deals are uploaded there as well. So
very good. I mean, given those sponsorships that have come in, we're close to even, Serafima, because this table here doesn't include any sponsorships, and we have some already. So this number here it looks low, but it's higher than that. It's closer to this number.
yeah, but this is number what we can get from registrations, and then of course there is the streaming, right? So together, I need to maybe update this table to be more reflect. But I think yes, we are hopefully close to covering our costs.
Yeah, very good.
With this streaming, of course.
Yeah. Just wanted to confirm about I registered myself last week, so that's up and running, and also it's good to, if you are planning to be there, do that now to get the early bird rates both for hotel and for everything. Hopefully we have a good attendance. That week is going to be very full week, with the workshop and the DWIS event, etc. Very good. All right, any questions here before we move on?
I can just say the early bird, I think, is still the 21st of January, from what I can remember.
All right. So then the last slide are the events that are coming up. Matt already mentioned about the webinar on February 13. We have the symposium and the workshop here. I think we have covered both of those. So no need to spend more time here. Of course, we have those few spots that SP gives us as webinars and SP lives. I don't have the dates yet. We get 2 of each, I think, for the whole year. Those are open for anyone who is willing to come in and share their knowledge, their success stories, etc. I will keep in communication as we get more information, but this is really one of the avenues we have to share knowledge amongst the community members here. So, final slide.
Hey, Demetrius, on that, do we have slots from SPE media people, Natalie, for throughout 2025? Because she normally schedules.
I don't have the exact dates, but if the process runs the same as 2024, we will have 2 webinars and 2 SP lives, John. But I don't know the dates yet.
Okay, be nice to get the dates and then start filling those slots as soon as possible.
Yeah. So just summarizing the main points that came up, the membership trends, they seem to be in the right direction. Member engagement still is not we would like it to be, but it's great to see the new people coming in as officers and subcommittee members. That's a good thing. We just need to keep up the effort to bring everybody in, or not everybody, but more people in. Drillbotics got a lifeline, so that's a very positive development, but we need to revitalize the program, and the geothermal is just one way to do that. Enrique has done a good job, driving it and creating slides, and I think he has big shoes to fill from Fred and Sassy, but I have full confidence that he has he himself coming in through the program. He knows how it works and he can relate better with students and professors alike. So I look forward to that. We need to publicize more the DWIS demos and workshop, get participation. I'm happy to see that there is interest to attend the workshop even in a hybrid mode. That's excellent. And thanks to Aker BP for sponsoring. And if we manage to fill that room, that will be a big achievement. And there's no reason why we couldn't do that. And finally, the next scheduled call is a community call on January 9. We have skipped the last 1 or 2 of those community calls, mainly because we didn't have enough technical material to share. And that's a shame. But now with the demos coming up, I think we can resume. And January 9, we can at least give an update to the community where we stand and what's coming up. So hopefully that will help with publicizing the workshop. It's a Thursday again, the second Thursday of the month, 8:30 to 10. And that sums up today's meeting. If anybody has any closing comments before we hang up, we only finished 15 minutes early, not half hour. We lost a couple of people, but I think it was a good discussion I didn't want to interrupt.
I
Okay.
would like to point out one thing on the that announcement for the IEDC contractor webinar.
Yeah.
It says 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time, but February is not daylight saving. So, and then the actual agenda show starting at 8 a.m. I'm assuming what we're really doing is starting at 8 a.m. Is that true?
No, it's starting at 9 a.m. I went online to IEDC drilling contractor, and it says 9 a.m. GMT -6.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a draft that I was looking at, and I'll correct the CDT.
Okay, very good. All right.
Okay.
Hey, Demetrios, my thought, and I think you made the comment there, is that next general meeting, I think it would be good if Eric and Matt and other people spoke to these different events coming up, just a 10-minute synopsis of what it is, because if we can steer people to go sign up for them, that would be a good outcome.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you, everyone. Happy holidays, safe, healthy to everyone. Merry Christmas. And we'll see everybody back hopefully on January 9. At that point is when we will send out the announcement for the annual meeting, for the nominations to the community. Thank you again.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Okay,
Take
thanks.
care.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.